Thank you, Fran. This is Andras Cser from Forrester Research. I'm principal analyst here looking at identity and access management, security, fraud management, and cloud security. And really, obviously, securing payments, again, just talking about PCI DSS for data centers. We've seen a lot of sites here in the online gaming and gambling space allowing PayPal or e-wallet payments to minimize credit card breaches. Obviously, the PayPal or e-wallet payments can be much more secure than just a pure credit card payment. And using back-end transaction monitoring on your side, such as a certified CyberSource, data cache count, retail decisions, Guardian Analytics, etc., to understand what is normal versus what is abnormal for this user or user group, and detect fraudulent behaviors before they kind of cause any kind of losses to you is very important. And using link analytics to detect employee fraud and collusion is very important. So link analytics looks at attributes of transactions, attributes of also known fraudulent transactions, and looks at, hey, how it's very interesting that you have two users, Alice and Bob, right? And they share the same phone number, right? And they both committed fraudulent transactions. Or Alice and Bob share the same email address, or the same mailing address, or billing address, right? So these are all signs that there's some collusion or some kind of fraud ring going on. There is software that can basically detect this, and it can also visually represent these fraud rings. So that's a very important thing there. Obviously, when you look at, I talked about behavior anomaly detection and for fraud prevention, really understanding behaviors out there, understanding what's normal, what's not normal is very important. You can look at the network layer, like an HTTP traffic monitoring using something like a Silvertail, Securonics, or Intellink's kind of solution that really allows you to separate good traffic from bad traffic and understand behaviors, behavioral differences. You need to also build user behavioral profiles to understand the user's historic behavior, how they've been behaving, what they've been doing, and if there's big differences, then understand why that is happening, and if there's fraudulent activity, intercept that fraudulent activity as quickly as possible. Obviously, there is two ways to do this. Again, understand the user's past behavior, known good behavior that you model, and see if the user's current behavior is different from what they've been doing. So if they've been playing like $5 minimum bets in the past, and now they're moving to $5,000 minimum dollar minimum bets, that's usually something that can be indicative of fraud. Similarly, if you look at anomalies, this last bullet item, between the user's own behavior and a peer group, then you can also see differences. So if you have a user who's been in the same segment that starts behaving differently from their peer group, suddenly then that can also be a sign of fraudulent behavior. And finally, we see a lot of folks looking at logging and reporting. Obviously, the more you have integration of logs and security incident monitoring, security event monitoring systems, identity and access management, and behavioral detection systems, understanding that having a unified one pane of glass, single pane of glass view into all the activities, and being able to trace the user's activity across multiple systems quickly without having to do a lot of correlation of logs is very important. And this is, again, you have to understand what is normal, understand normalcy based off of what the logs tell you before something bad happens. So obviously, building that good behavioral profile is very important based on logs. Obviously, we've seen a lot of basic questions around disaster recovery and service level agreements. Usually 99.9% is the minimum service level agreement for an online gaming site or gambling site with a 1 hour recovery time objective, close to 0 recovery point objectives. So you kind of have to be able to continue where you left off. You cannot really have any lost transactions. and using an HA active-active infrastructure with at least 2 data centers for backends, using network attached storage or NAS data replication on a network level between your data centers, with all switchover mechanisms being automated and integrated as SDLC, so production environment upgrades into the HA disaster recovery processes is also very important. So in summary, these are the steps, right, that we see out there: DDoS protection, user enrollment, registration protection, access controls, user self-service, data encryption at rest and in transit, securing online payments, behavior anomaly detection, reporting and logging, unification or consolidated view of actions, and disaster recovery and service level agreement kinds of operations. So what do we predict? What does the crystal ball tell us? Where's this market going? Obviously, we're going to see the 3 Bs in this space as well as in other spaces have a large impact here. So behavior analytics, big data integration, and bundling of these services will be a huge driver in this space. So understanding bigger data contexts, much higher volumes of data, much higher velocities of data, variety of data in terms of social media, log files, et cetera, in decisioning. Veracity and to drive veracity and value of the data will provide better context for defenses and analytics. Behavioral analytics basically provides layered defenses against unknown or emerging threats. So you can code policies only against things and threats that you understand, but not against things that you don't, that are new. So obviously this is like being able to direct your searchlight towards the areas where you think the threats are coming from. And obviously these services will be bundled into the standard DDoS, identity and access management, SIEM, and security hosted offerings. So clearly understanding behaviors where the threat is coming at you is very important. So with that, I'd like to conclude my part of this presentation.